Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
National Water and Sewerage Authority NWASA to apply new water rates in the coming year. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Tuesday, November 26th, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. The National Water and Sewerage Authority NWASA will be implementing new but competitive water rates from January 2020 as part of tariff reform. The company, which employs about 200 people, undertook a tariff review in September last year as part of its strategic plan, and after a competitive tendering process, US-based firm HARDTALK Consulting put forward a number of recommendations in a report completed at the end of last month after being chosen by NWASA in April. HARDTALK, whose website, raftalis.com, states that it has a unique focus on the utility and public sector, reviewed NWASA's current tariff and evaluated alternative tariffs. It says if rates are not adjusted, NWASA will run a deficit next year. It will not meet its debt service coverage requirements of its lenders and will have no cash in its fund balance by the year 2022. In essence, it says the current rates are insufficient. During a press conference immediately following Tuesday's post-cabinet press briefing, NWASA's General Manager, Mr. Christopher Husbands, said by implementing the tariff increase, the company hopes to have a better control over its capital investment schedule so that it can access concessionary sources of financing. This, in turn, will give it greater ability to control its implementation schedule. He explained the new rate structure.
Under the current side, this is what our water rate is now. So on the domestic side, we have what you call an increasing block rate. We have the first 2,800 gallons, you pay $8.10 for the 2,800 gallons. That moves up to $9.48. The next category moves from $13.50 to $15.80. And the large volume category on the domestic moves from $20.25 to $23.70. This is per 1,000 gallons. Your fixed monthly charge moves from $10.80 to $12.64. So it's not even $2. On the non-domestic side, the variable component moves from $21.35 per 1,000 gallons to $29.35 per 1,000 gallons. And the non-domestic, their fixed monthly charge is fixed on an annual basis, and it's based on your previous year's consumption. So the persons who now have a fixed monthly charge of $15, if all things stay the same, their fixed monthly charge will go up by $5. Those with the $33.75 category will go up to $46.35. So that is a new rate structure.
The benefits of the new rate include significantly more investment in the water sector. Mr. Husband spoke of the impact this will have on customers.
Persons in the domestic category who are within the 700,000 gallons per month, this may be a one person in a house kind of setup, they would have a current monthly bill of $16.47. Their monthly bill will go up to $19.28, so an increase of $2.81. And that is a component of the fixed and the variable. The average person, small household that's in the 2,400 gallon per month category that has a current monthly bill of $30.24, their monthly bill will go up to $35.39, so an increase of $5. And persons in the higher domestic category, someone paying $60 a month now for water will go up to pay $70, so an increase of $10 for the month. On the non-domestic side, again, the smaller non-domestic user This may be someone with a small shop that doesn't have a lot of consumption, but is conducting business activity. Their current monthly bill will be $23.54 now. That will go up by $8. The larger users will go up by $21 and $83 respectively. This gives some more details on, this is the domestic side, right? So just put this up so persons can have some more. So if your monthly bill is now $40, it will go up by $40, it will go up by about $6, $7. If your monthly bill now is $20, it'll go up by about $3. If your monthly bill is $70 now, it will go up by about $11.
NWASA was created in 1992 without any adjustment to the water rates at that time. One rate increase was held in 2010. Since the last tariff, the company has spent $37.8 million over the last 10 years using internally generated funds to improve its network. Under its 10-year capital plan, NWASA needs financing for a number of projects, including investments in IT at $45 million, pipeline upgrade $85 million, and production facilities $25 million. Mr. Husband says they need to finance $178 million in capital investments. Despite the planned increase, Grenada still boasts of one of the lowest rates, making it competitive and affordable regionally.
Water is still very cheap. I said earlier the domestic water, the first block in the domestic category will now be $9.48 for 1,000 gallons. That is less than 1 cent a gallon. So every single domestic user for your first 2,800 gallons of water, you are paying less than 1 cent. So even if we round it off as, you can't even pay us 1 cent now because ECCB don't have that ticket. Right? On the non-domestic side, the non-domestic has a fixed variable rate, which is $29.35 per 1,000 gallons, which is basically 3 cents for a gallon of water.
Cabinet has set up a committee to meet with the College Council at the Tia Marisho Community College in a bid to resolve the ongoing dispute surrounding non-payment of increments amounting to $6.2 million. The council, meanwhile, must submit a proposal to Cabinet as soon as possible on how it plans to address the outstanding payment, and that proposal must be ready for next week's Cabinet meeting.
I will tell you what the Cabinet decided yesterday. They submit a committee set up to meet with the council, and they must come up with proposal for the next Cabinet meeting. So the work must be completed this week with how they're going to address the payment, because the issue is the outstanding payment. So this week, the committee will meet with the council, and they must submit a recommendation. That means this recommendation will have to be in before Friday to reach the Cabinet on Monday, and then Cabinet will take the decision on the way forward.
And any information as to the committee, the comprise?
Well, it will comprise of the minister responsible for tertiary education and representative from the council, usually the chairman, the principal, the buzzer. These will be the main people. And they must come up with a proposal to submit to the union.
Good morning, good morning to all of our listening audience. Good morning. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A special good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 City Sound FM, 89.5 CRFM, 92.9 Sister Isle Radio, broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, and of course 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. Of course, to those of you joining us on the live, good morning to you as well. Of course, remember to like and share the live video, get everybody involved. Well, it's an interesting morning, of course, because it's been an interesting week. And I have two guests with me this morning. I'm a lucky woman, a very lucky woman. As promised, we are going to continue talks and discussions about the newly introduced 2020 budget, right? But let me introduce my guest with me this morning. Of course, you know him. We have Mr. Devon Romaine in studio with me this morning. Say good morning.
Good morning to everyone, and welcome to Hard Talk.
All right, and of course, right across from me, we have the Minister, Honorable Oliver Joseph, who is going to give us a breakdown, basically, of the budget, what it entails, you know. Of course, our lines are going to be open in about half an hour, 45 minutes. So I know some of you are eager to call from the very get-go, but, you know, give the man a chance, let him get into the meat of it, and then we can take some calls. So good morning to you, Minister.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, and good morning to all our listeners.
All right. So we have just concluded the sitting of our 2020 budget presentation, and as I like to call it, the people's budget, because it entails so many good things for our, I want to say, grassroots people or our vulnerable people, and a lot of things, a lot of information that is understandable to people on every level within the country. So I know you're eager to get started on breaking down for us what the budget entails.
Well, thank you very much. So the budget total is 1.146 billion. You'd have heard the Minister of Finance say 1,146,010,705. But for simplicity, 1.146 billion is the same thing. And it's broken down as follows. Recurrent revenue for 2020 is estimated at 786.2 million. So what do I mean by recurrent revenue? Every term I use, I will explain it.
All right.
So that the listener is very clear when we say recurrent revenue. Recurrent revenue is revenue that you collect on a monthly, weekly, fortnightly basis. That's why it's called recurrent.
Right.
Recurring, right? So it's estimated from revenue that we'll collect 786.2 million. This recurrent revenue will come from tax revenues, non-tax revenues, and grants. So tax revenue, things like your property tax, your income tax, your annual stamp tax. Non-tax revenue will be things like your license and your fees and so on, because it's non-tax revenue. If you do not have a motor vehicle, you do not pay motor vehicle license. You know?
Well, of course.
So that's the non-tax revenue side. So when you add up all of this, what you're going to collect in taxes and non-tax revenue, it will amount estimated to be 786.2 million. It is this revenue now that the government must allocate to meet its expenditure. So the next item will be to look at recurrent expenditure.
Right.
Recurrent expenditure is estimated at 633.7 million. So right away you see the revenue exceed the expenditure.
Right.
So you will end up with a current account surplus, because we're talking about on the recurrent side, of 152.5 million. And how you arrive at that current account surplus is very simple. You subtract the revenue from the expenditure, simple mathematics. 786.2, and you're going to spend 633.7, so you have a current account surplus of 152.5 million.
Right.
Now that is a very healthy position to be in.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Right, so it is important that we understand what this current account surplus mean. Some people hearing that and say, well, the government have a lot of money now, so they can pay increases in salary, and they can and they can do a lot of things with this current account surplus. When I go to the capital side, I explain the significance of this current account surplus. So it's revenue minus expenditure in the particular year. You could end up with a deficit. In fact, when we came, there was a deficit. Right. In other words, you could collect less money than you're spending. Right. Simple as that. The capital expenditure side, the budgeted capital expenditure is 225.3 million. So the primary surplus after you add grant is 212.8 million. Now, coming back to the current account surplus, we have 152.5 million estimated. But look what happened on the capital side. We intend to spend 225.3 million.
Right.
So where is this money going to come from? That's the obvious question. This money will come from loans, grants, and the current account surplus
Right.
So the bigger the surplus you have, the less borrowing you have to do.
Borrowing you have to do.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is the critical
Right.
factor in this, what we explain in here. And the principal repayment, we budget to pay out in principal to loans that we have, $287 million.
Right.
So to get the money, again, you will have to see where would we get the money to pay. It's coming from part of the expenditure.
Right.
So if you continue to grow a surplus, you borrow less, and you want more money to put on the capital side of the budget.
Right.
Because really it's on the capital side of the budget that will give you the economic growth. Because you're going to put on infrastructure, improve on all your utilities, the facilities, repair schools, and that's where the jobs going to come. The jobs
Right.
won't come on the recurrent side, The recurrent side is what you're spending on.
You're spending.
So if you, for example, borrow money to meet recurrent expenditure, you're not getting anything in return, But when you spend on the capital side and create the jobs in the economy, that is where you're going to get the growth.
Right.
And that is why the way this budget is constructed, we will see growth in 2020, continued growth. In fact, growth is estimated to be 4.5%.
Wow.
And for the last 5 years, Grenada growth rate has been consistent. So the debt, now some people, I've heard this, some people say that we try to reduce the debt at the cost of other expenses, of other things. You could use it for the productive sector, you could keep borrowing.
Right.
Given our experience in Grenada, when we came in 2013, the debt to GDP ratio was 108%. So you mean the debt was more than the GDP, That's what it means. Because it's 108. But nobody is lending you money.
Yeah.
When your debt to GDP ratio is at that. So when we went to the structural adjustment program, we said we need to reduce the debt. Now the ECCB guidelines is that 60%, you should work to achieving a 60% debt to GDP ratio. We set ourselves a target of 55%.
Right.
Why did we do that? When you get your debt to GDP ratio down, financial institutions have confidence in your ability to repay.
Right.
So now, several institutions come to us to offer us money.
Right.
And we're saying, listen, only concessionary loans that we will take. So, for example, IDA 18, the first, we got 30 million US. Before the end of the year, we get 20 million US. We have 40 years, 10 years grace period, 40 years to repay it.
Right.
At 0.75%.
Wow.
Interest, very concessionary.
Yeah.
Grenada was the only country in Carriacou to access the loan. Only country.
Wow.
Because of our fiscal performance and discipline. So when you hear the argument, well, we should keep the debt up to 60 or 65, but not too bad. Once you see, what you have to look at is the way direction it is moving, If the way to look at your debt, this is moving upward and not a downward trajectory, you're in trouble. So we need to get more concessionary loan, and we could only attract concessionary loan because of the debt to GDP ratio. Now it's a simple ratio, it's debt over GDP. So if your debt remain constant or start to decline and the denominator increasing, it will change the equation.
Right.
So we are on the right track, and this budget, as indicated, will see us growing the economy and therefore generating revenue that can create the jobs that we need and the improvement in the standard of living of our people. So how do we spend the money? The largest portion of government recurrent expenditure, well, anyone will guess, is employee compensation.
Right.
Salaries, wages. Pensions. That is the largest part of the recurrent expenditure.
Yeah.
Then goods and services. As you know, government procure other goods and they provide services. Interest payments, also a large part of government expenditure. And transfers, what they call transfers. When we give money to statutory body or institution, for example, T.A. Marshall Community College, government transfers $14 million to help them run the college. That is the transfers.
Right.
And we transfer money to other statutory bodies that we need to give support, subventions, and so on. That's the the four main areas of government expenditure. And I must say, and that's something that we have to boast about. When we came in, when we look at the first category, employee compensation, I recall in 2013, 70% or 70 cents on every dollar collected went towards paying salary, wages, and pension. So you only had 30% for goods and services, interest payment, and transfers. 30%. So when we look at the figure, we decided to develop a program that will get us down to 50%.
Right.
How do we do that? Well, if employee compensation is high as well, you'll see that is where we need to cut. So we decided on an attrition policy that saw, if you remember, the 3 for 10, for every 10 people that go, you will only bring in 3.
Yeah.
And then to outsource a lot of the services to get it down. Do you know that it's down now to under 50%?
Wow.
The amount of the wages, salaries, and compensation. And that is why when we are talking about wage increases, we have to bear that in mind. When you give wage increases, if you increase the percentage of government's revenue, as we started out saying, that goes towards you are little for the other areas,
Yeah.
And then you cut down on the surplus
Yeah.
that you're going to have. So you have this ripple effect. So the economy has to be properly managed.
Right.
I think some people are really surprised that we meet the target, because I've never heard somebody complain that we debt to GDP ratio is too low. I think they did not think that in 5 years we could have the debt to GDP ratio at that level.
At that level.
They did not think that we could bring the 70% down to under 50% and to get a primary surplus.
Yeah.
Because when we came in, there was a deficit.
Right.
So all these macroeconomic indicators are standard indicators as used throughout the world. That's nothing that made up by Grenada.
Right.
These are long-established principles designed by economists that followed by the World Bank and the IMF and all the other Caribbean Development Bank. Because, listen, they said we must apply the same standards to everybody. I recall the European Union, when they upgraded most Caribbean countries to middle income, right? Now, how you come, whether you upper, middle, or lower, is based on a very simple formula. It's called the per capita GDP.
Right.
And that simple means is that you take the GDP of the country and you divide it by the population.
By the population.
That is all. So I remember the EU, we were arguing at this meeting with the European Union about stop using per capita GDP to rank us, because we are poor countries and unemployment is high and poverty level is high. You know what was the EU response? We have no other formula to use that is fair across everybody, so we take everybody population.
Right.
And we divide it by everybody GDP. Yours fall over 10,000.
Wow.
So that's where you are, as simple as that.
Yeah.
They said if you could find a formula that is equivalent, that will measure everybody, well, yes, but you happen to fall there. So we were saying use the Human Development Index. Actually, when you use the Grenada and most Carriacou countries rank very high, and the
Right.
Human Development Index, because the Human Development Index is looking at your standard of living, human development. See, how many household in Grenada is connected to electricity? And in Grenada case, 99%.
Yeah.
How many citizens have access to pipe-borne water in their house?
Yeah.
How many people have internet connection? And all of these things, Grenada rank high. So they use a measurement that are applicable to everyone.
Yeah.
And people need to understand that not Grenada cannot make up numbers and give to this financial institution. It's done scientifically. And so that is how it is used by the international community. And so this budget is very balanced, and as I will show that in my presentation. But so that I wanted to explain all these terms, what you hear in simple recurrent expenditure, recurrent revenue, to get it off the way.
Yeah.
And turn now to how the budget.
Mr. Minister, just a minute before you go forward. The whole question of GDP, gross domestic product, right? It's being said and so. But I don't think the average Grenadian understanding it clearly. What does it mean?
Okay.
How does it affect them?
Right.
Could you
Sure.
just elaborate a bit
That's
on
a
it
good
for us?
question.
Yes.
Maybe I should have explained it too, just so as explaining recurrent revenue,
Yes,
and everybody
because-
understand
Yeah.
it. No, so the first word, we take it the first word, gross. So that's everything. So if you
Okay.
say your gross salary is 5,000, but your net salary is 4,500 because you paid 500 for
NIS.
income tax,
Okay.
and they make the NIS. So your gross is everything. So the first word is gross. Domestic means that you are counting only things that are produced locally. That's why the word domestic. Domestic in your own space. You're not adding anything coming from outside. So that's the word domestic. And the product is all that you produce, all the goods and services produced in the economy. So if you have, gross, domestic, so everything. So if you have in 1 year, big projects taking place, building of a stadium, 40 million, you will see a growth in the GDP. If you see 2 hotels constructed within 1 year, that will contribute and show a growth because you have increased expenditure. If you have increased public expenditure, that's what we're seeing on the capital side. So if you undertake some major road building and the money spent in the economy, so you build 50 miles of road, a lot of money is spent on that, and all that is added up, right? And that is what is meant by your gross domestic product, goods and services produced in the local economy.
Right.
And so when you hear that St. George's University contributes 20% to a GDP, that is under the category called educational services. So they calculate what percentage of the GDP is contributed by St. George's University because you have 5,000 students living here, so they're spending money in the supermarket, they are renting accommodation, vehicle, and everything. And when you add the contribution to it. So yes, you're right, the gross domestic product, as I said, is everything. So you do not take out, subtract for taxes or anything like that.
Right.
You take everything and you call it, that is the measure, everything that is produced, what is agriculture contribution, fisheries contribution, the construction sector contribution, tourism, what are all the sectors contribution to GDP, and it's broken down and you could see the contribution of each sector, how much they contributed to the gross domestic product.
As you talk about contribution, I don't know if I could be wrong. Does all the sectors make a contribution towards that? Because I say that, let's look at health.
Right.
What does health, in the whole sense of the gross domestic, what does health contribute?
Well, in this health sector, you will add medical services, right?
Okay.
But when we say contribution, as I said, is goods and services produced in the local economy. So medical services will be counted.
part.
But we look at what is called the real sectors. That is how economists put it, as the real sectors, right? Tourism, construction, the real so they call it the real sectors. Not to mean that the others are unreal,
but they're the ones that are more buoyant.
Right, yes,
Okay.
yeah. But sometimes you could have a decline in one sector in the contribution, Like agriculture, we saw a short decline in the contribution. But you will see a growth in other sectors. For example, construction. We saw a growth in tourism. We saw growth. And the small services, the small business sector, we saw growth.
Right.
So that leads. So I will come. I wanted to deal with the growth sector. So as you ask the question, but first of all, before I go in more details, I wanted to just touch on the allocation by votes, right, in the budget. So public debt is budgeted to be, that is what we're going to pay towards the debt, 354 million, or 30.9% of the budget will be going towards paying debt, because we need to bring down our debt. Education, 120.8 million. Finance, 112.8 million. Infrastructure, 92.7 million. Health, 89.7 million. That is what the government is going to spend there. Pension and gratuities is estimated at 72.8 million. The police, 53.6 million. Social development, 46.8 million. Youth and sports, 41.1 million. Tourism, 27 million. That's the top 10. The top 10 allocation out of the total budget, That is the top 10 allocation. So you see in the top 10, the emphasis is on education, 120.8 million. Infrastructure, the plan is to spend 92.7 million there. Health, 89.7. So you will see where the money is allocated in the areas that we need to improve on. Social development, we have a lot of programs under there.
Yes.
$46.8 million. And then youth, 41.1, because we need, that's how we fund the programs and so on under youth and sports. So that is how it is distributed in the top 10. Agriculture comes in at number 12 with 18.6. And let me say one thing. Now, if you look at the budget here and the allocation, I can spend the whole day arguing why agriculture didn't get more, why health didn't get more. Everybody could spend time doing that.
Yeah.
In the final analysis, the government, whichever government it is, must allocate the scarce resources in an optimal way to get the outcome that it desires.
Right.
And what is the outcome they desire? Is to have sustainable economic growth. That is the overall thing. To empower youth and to improve standard of living of his people.
Right.
So when you set your overall goal, and within that now you do the allocation. Because as I say, we could spend the whole day arguing over why this and
To get more
this
or less.
$1 billion budget. You could allocate resources in a billion different way.
Yeah.
So there's no point spending time on that. What we have to look at is, based on the allocation, can we achieve our goals?
Right.
And I'm saying that based on this balanced budget, I like to call it a balanced budget, that we could achieve our goal. Remember, the theme of the budget is towards Vision 2035.
Right.
We have the plan,
Sustainable development
plan for 15 years, empowering our communities. That is what we want to achieve. Growing our economy, and I will talk about the growth area just now. Protecting our environment and strengthening our institution. And the team is not taken lightly. The team say, what is the vision then for what you want to achieve? And remember, the budget is a plan for 1 year, one financial year.
1 year.
I heard a commentator saying the budget should be 3 billion if we want to achieve the Sustainable Development Plan. Well, what will change last year from 1 billion to now 3 billion? And you could spend 3 billion in 1 year. Yeah? The National Sustainable Development Plan is a 15-year plan.
Yeah.
So you can't hope to spend 3 billion in this financial year.
This year.
In one financial year. No, I was shocked when I heard this person saying that he thought the budget was going to be 3 billion.
Because
Like
I think it's because they don't take time to really understand what it's all about.
But no, the person who said that's supposed to understand that. So I don't know the context.
Well, we would hope so.
That was said, So, right, so that's what I'm saying. So that's the overall budget, and it's great. So let me move quickly to the growth sectors, because I know your callers waiting, but I think it's better if we spend some time explaining this thing in details.
Absolutely.
And because people do listen to this program, because they comment afterwards.
Yeah.
I recall last year, I was talking about poultry inputs, and all the farmers, I was shocked. They remember the figures I quoted, and said that they wanted to get into poultry.
Yeah.
And that means they were listening to the budget. So it is important to break it down, because you see, the Minister of Finance in this presentation do not have the time to break it down.
Yeah.
He's doing overall picture on it. So when we say that the economy is growing, the quite obvious question, and anybody asking that question, that's a very good question. Where is the growth taking place?
Yes.
Because some people saying, we say the economy growing, so where is it growth?
Yeah.
I want to list 5 areas. And I want you to, as the host, I think we need to have a flyer or some pamphlet dealing with these 5 areas.
Yes.
So the first area of growth, small business sector. The government is putting money into a small business development fund. Last year, This fund has led to the creation of 570 new businesses and 748 existing businesses, with creating jobs of 1,514, 661 of which were new jobs. So you see the growth?
Yeah.
You see the growth? That is what we're talking about. This year, in 2020, the allocation is $5 million. Now, why is the government putting money? Because we transferring it. That is part of the transfers. We transferred $5 million to the Small Business Development Fund to help small business people to start up their own business. And the bank and the other financial institutions are very liquid in Grenada, you know. The liquidity rate,
very much so.
But you know they're not lending to small business?
Small business, yeah.
Because they said it's too onerous to go through all this thing to lend you 20,000. They're not making much money on that.
Yeah.
So government have to step in and help. And you see the jobs that's created. You see the growth in that sector by government stepping in. This is one of the best programs that the government have. I know people talk about all the others. In my estimation, this is the one that is the one that have impact with these jobs, as I mentioned there, with this new business. And in St. David's alone, I know at least 20 people who have striving business are able to access this loan facility at some low interest rate.
Yeah, but Minister, I don't want to cut you, but I do agree with you 100% in small business development, and it's something that we've always advocated for on the program, because not only does it help grow the economy, but it helps people to be self-sustainable. It helps them to be able to say, okay, well, I am my own boss, I am my own entrepreneur. But what I want to find out, is there a way, or if not that the government is already doing it, for persons to do a market research to see where there's a need, in what sectors there's a need, so that they can gear their small businesses towards improving that sector? Because I know a lot of people, when they start businesses, most times it's because of maybe where their skill lies or where they have an interest. But is there a way to kind of steer the interest into a sector that really needs that help?
Right. So the GIDC has done that study, and they do a lot of training.
Right.
This Grenada Development Bank, the Small Business Development Loan. So, for example, what they noticed when the fund started, when we started that, most people was coming for wholesale and retail. And they said, listen, based on our study, this is a crowded market.
It is.
Right? So they advised them. They said, well, poultry is a need. So why don't you go to poultry, you know? Or fishing. Can give you the money to buy a fishing boat because fish is in big demand. And so, yes, they have done the study. They know the sectors. They will encourage them. Why not go into providing tourism services?
Right.
Going something that you could make and sell to the tourists and
Right.
other opportunities like that. So you have that sector developed. They know the areas. Training is taking place by both GIDC and the Grenada Development Bank. My ministry is involved with it, the Ministry of Trade, under the National Export Strategy. We have been working with small businesses to help them improve on the product for export market.
Right.
We have trained 40 small business people in packaging and labeling to meet international standards. And we will continue to work with them.
Right.
So this government has an aggressive plan to help small business in every way.
Right.
We cannot have small business producing goods and no label on it.
I don't want to
no, go ahead.
take you away from your presentation, but because I think it's important, especially with the new open trade market that we have now. I think that a lot of our people are going to be able to capitalize on it. Minister David would have mentioned in his presentation that Wester Hall Rum is now in partnership with Russia, a company in Russia, to export their product to Russia, their rum to Russia. Russia is also buying cocoa beans from us here in Grenada, which is, I mean, a big step, which I think people need to because when we weren't exporting as much cocoa as we should, there was a lot of talk about it. So these are the things that we want to encourage. So this packaging and labeling training and all of that, people may look at it as something so small, but it's actually a big step in the right direction. Maybe that same small business could become a multi-million-dollar business just by trading their product outside of Grenada. You know, so I mean, while we might want it, we might say, okay, yes, we want the small businesses to develop inside of Grenada, help the economy within Grenada. We're also looking at them becoming international, which is how they should also look at it. So I do believe a lot in small business development, which I believe the government is spending a lot of time and energies on getting people into being entrepreneurs.
Right. So here the goal of the government, why all this, you're correct, and the small business development. One is to give people the opportunity to create their own business so they do not rely on the state for employment.
Right.
That is first major. The second one is to give small business the opportunity to create products for the export market.
Right.
So they could earn foreign exchange and sell. And the third one is to get our people to start thinking as entrepreneurs and develop that culture in them, so the children could see what the parents are doing or did to make a living, and hopefully that they will go in. That's the overall goal of the small business. And I must say that we have seen signs of that already happening, and we are very pleased with that. And as I said, we continue to support small business development. So that's the first growth sector, small business. The second one is tourism. We've seen a growth in the tourism sector in terms of overstay visitors and also in cruise ship arrival, the visitors coming to our country. And so tourism is performing well, and that's growth. That's one of the growth sectors. And with tourism, there is a linkage between tourism and agriculture. And I must mention something that's taking place in Grenada that's, I would say, for the first time. Silver Sands Hotel, when they opened, it contracted local farmers to supply them with certain fruits and vegetables.
Right.
The chef himself went on the plant the farm in St. David's and said what type of tomato they wanted, cucumber, and the seasoning, peppers, and everything like that, and contracted directly with Grenrop. Grenrop, as the women's cooperative, has reached to the stage where they contract several farmers now to supply them, because they need to supply the hotel. That is the direct link that we have to establish between tourism and agriculture. Sandals have contracted Grenrop and gave them $70,000 to buy equipment.
Wow.
Because we said we want you, because when they look then at what they have, they say, well, in order to increase your production, you will need to have farm machinery equipment. 70,000. Miss Marisho went up to Jamaica, Teresa Marisho, to receive the check, you know.
Wow.
Sandals headquarters, yes. Investing directly.
Yeah.
So, to supply, say, for example, watermelon or the fruits that they want, the chefs say they do not want to import these things.
Right.
When they arrive here, it's not the same as the local one.
Yes.
So she had to contract farmers in St. George's, in St. Mark's, in all the other areas. And every Wednesday, that's delivery day, they're supplying all the hotels.
Wow.
Say eggs, for example. They need to supply 300 trays of eggs. Right? That's the demand. So she has to contract out farmers. So you see the direct link with the tourism and agriculture. And that is something, you know, since I was growing up, I heard about that. Why don't link? But for the first time, and it goes beyond that. You know what is happening now? The guests at Sandals and Silver Sands, you know what? The chef, the person who is there, the chef said, bring the tourists to the farm to see where the thing's coming from. And now, she said, tourists is coming up to the farm
Wow.
to see as part of the package, the tour. That is amazing.
But in not to cut you, in that sense, now that they're going up to the farms and
Yes,
so on,
right.
will the farmers be able to sell their produce externally? Because I know they supply with the hotels. But is that now an avenue for them to make extra income?
No, well, listen, for external supply for fruits and vegetables, only based on the fact that you do not have a sufficient local market to sell what you produce. Now that you have the demand, they do not have to ship outside some of these products because they are, first of all, what they have said to me, and first of all, farmers did never complain about price. They said they're getting the price better than when they export.
Wow.
They have said that to me for tomato. They said to me that the hotels are paying them better prices. So why would they want to export? Let the export of soursop continue and certain species of mango continue, and we cannot consume all the golden apple. Let that continue.
Yeah.
But the farmers producing directly. I know a farmer in my area that said to me, he supplied for the last month 600 pounds of tomatoes every week at $5 a pound. At $5 a pound. 600, you know.
Wow.
That is a lot.
No, he do far big. I mean, he has.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they could take all, you know.
Yeah.
Tomato. And then the next farmer said to me, there are certain hotels who want, something called cherry tomato.
Yes.
The small one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't think this thing, it's more expensive than the normal one.
It is. It's like
Yeah.
a delicacy.
Yes.
It's a special.
The amount of money this farmer tell me he's getting for that he's dedicated his farm just to that.
Wow.
And he's supplying hotels in Grenada with that. And he's making more money than when he was in the profession. He just retired. And his last salary in his profession was $5,000 a month. And he said that's a joke. What he making in farming, that $5,000, he probably should have retired long.
Wow.
Because because there is the demand for it.
Yeah.
So this connection between tourism and agriculture
Important.
they make a great impact.
Yeah.
Even the supermarkets too.
Yeah, yes. Well, traditionally, supermarkets have always
Yeah.
It's linked.
supported local farmers. And then we come into the poultry plant that is going to open its affairs. So just now in 2020, we'll see a lot of locally produced poultry in Grenada because we import millions of dollars worth of poultry.
Well, as you say that, my daughter is doing CPA next year, and they had to do their project for the exam, and her group decided that they were going to do poultry, local versus imported. Well, we the parents had to go with them to do the research and so on, and it was an eye-opener as to how much poultry we import.
Yeah, well, we
I
consume.
mean,
Well, it shouldn't
Grenadians
surprise you
consume
because
a
we
lot
do-
of chicken.
Yeah, because our production is only 10%.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Wow. So the next 90% we have to import.
We have to
Yes.
import that 90%.
Because there is high demand for chicken. All the way past chicken,
Yes.
Fried chicken, barbecue chicken. No, chicken is used in a lot
Yeah,
of different areas.
Well, what is the comparison between chicken and fish when it comes to the consumption and the exportation?
Chicken, poultry, way ahead. Fish, well, the price of fish is $8 a pound.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
$70.
Well, right. So poor family, like the family I come from, where we could buy fish, and we getting chicken wings for $2.
Yes.
And you could do
That's
so
true.
much things with the chicken wings.
When you put it that way, I can't help you.
So that is the thing. But remember, I promised to come back, right, to discuss with Devon in particular. We are
Yes.
looking at the food input bill.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I say we have to have a special program
Just
For
for
that.
that.
just for that. So I still
We will do that. We
still
will do
willing
that,
to
yeah.
come and look only at the food input bill
Yeah.
into Grenada, right?
Man, I hope we can make a difference.
Well, of course, and you'll be shocked when you see the figures just for food input alone. You see, you could understand we input in other things because we don't manufacture, we hardly manufacture anything.
Yeah.
But when you look at the food part, the one that we could do, that is the part that's going to shock you.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be shocked with vehicles because you know we input. Do you know? I don't want to get lost. Remember, I'm going through the 5 sectors. Eh?
Yeah.
And I want you to remember that. I see you writing it down. You know?
Don't worry, I remember.
Do you know we have more than 40,000 vehicles in Grenada?
Yes, at this
for
point.
For a population of 100,000.
At this point in time.
Yeah, at this point in time. Yeah. Yes.
I know sometime last year before, it was only around 32,000.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, vehicles.
Look at the difference.
And our ministry just finished a study on it. So we have all the data.
Wow.
Yes. Do you know that only 65 to 67% of the vehicle imported are used vehicle? And the new car market is only about 30 to 35%.
Wow.
Yeah. For the new car.
That is why I agree with government when they decide to move.
For the 10 years.
For the 10 years, for the importation of vehicles. But it is crucial.
Right. But, okay, so we discuss that on the next program.
Yes, on the next on the next program. Let's do that.
Let me start back again. The growth sectors, because I don't want, even though if I had to take the whole hour doing that, and we could take all the
it's very important for people to understand the growth that we have within the economy.
Yes. So small business, number 1, as I mentioned, the growth. Tourism.
2.
Construction. So when we say construction,
wow.
Sometimes when we announce construction, and some people say to me, well, we construction are not seeing no big hotel building, are not seeing, we're not building any big thing to talk about the growth. The growth in this sector, remember, is an aggregate of all construction activity, the total. So when we have 100 new houses building in it for the year, that adds to the construction, not just the big hotel.
Yeah.
I think. Because if you look at the banks, the financial report for the bank, the biggest portfolio is mortgage and vehicle,
Houses and vehicles.
Yes, houses, and this could be seen all over. I mean, that's easy to do. So construction is a growing sector. And when we look at our input, well, when we're doing the construction, we have to input almost everything.
Mm-hmm.
The cement, the steel,
the wood. Also sand.
And even, of course, we input in sand.
Only aggregate is the gravel that we have. We have
that we have here.
Yeah.
So you will see in a particular year, the imports of Grenada increase. But it will increase because business activities increase.
Yeah.
So there's a greater demand for things coming in. That is where I said, when we doing the analysis next time when I come, we will talk about the food side. I will give the area for the others. But it's important to understand what we input. So construction sector. The next sector is wholesale and retail sector. That is a growing sector because you have greater demand from the student population, the tourists coming in. You have a greater demand for goods and services. So wholesale and retail is on the increase. Okay. And the 5th sector, that is not exclusive, I'm just taking the top 5, is what we call services. Yeah. And in this big bracket, you have education services. But there are other services, yachting services, accounting services that professionals provide. But the education services are a big part of that. And we're seeing a continuous growth in the services sector. So to report the 5 sectors again, small business development, small business sector, tourism sector, construction sector, wholesale and retail sector, services. The top 5. And we could that could change at any one particular year. Because fisheries is doing well. So we may see next year I might have to add fisheries to the list. As a
And when you say fisheries, that include the consumption and
export. Export. Yes.
Okay.
So these are the growth sectors that we are witnessing in the economy. And the education services too, we also see an increase in private education institution, and all that is counting. Yeah. Now, services trade is not well understood because it's only in the 1994 GATT agreement, that's the WTO agreement, a whole chapter, an agreement was developed called GATS, a general agreement on trading services. Before that, what you had was GATT, the general agreement on tariffs on trade. So all the discussion was based on tariff. Countries should set a maximum tariff and let it be well known. So when you trade in, you know what is the tariff. And it's when the Uruguay spent a lot of years discussing that. And then they said, what about trading services? Because people trade professional services. And then they came up with 4 ways in which you could trade services. As I say, that's something new for a lot of people. And when I studied economics, there was not, but we didn't know about trading services. But it's a big thing now, and it's the largest part. In fact, in the negotiations at the Carriacou and WTO level, for Grenada, I led the services negotiation. And I've been invited to Carriacou before I was a minister to make presentation on services trade. And now this is a growing sector, but that's, actually is the next discussion we could have. But I just want to mention how important services, especially to small countries like ours, and the importance of services. So, so I'm looking at I'll give the overall picture, try to break it down for the viewers to understand what is budget having it. It's a budget, and the 2 things you must remember. First of all, we went to a structural adjustment program and came out and met all our targets and is used as a model.
Right.
We went through a structural adjustment program without retrenching a single worker.
Right.
I remember when we launched the trade union, I said, no, we must send on people. You know what? You remember I said to you that 70% of all recurrent revenue was going to be salaries, wages, and pension.
Yeah.
Well, let's say if you want to bring down that, you have to,
cut jobs.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first suggestion that.
That's the first thing that would come in anybody's mind.
Yes.
Well, it's what happened in Barbados.
And other countries.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jamaica.
Right. And we said, we're not cutting one job. We came in and meet unemployment at 40%. We're going to increase it because that's what you do when you cut jobs. He said, no, we go through attrition policy. They said, well, you cannot get it down to the level you want by getting 3 for 10. You have to take some other measures. And we said, even the IMF was arguing with us on that. That yes, that we will not get it to the level we want it.
Wow.
We said you have to do 2 things. Not only reduce on the workforce, but increase your revenue. And we pointed to them that what we need to do is increase revenue. So you have more revenue. So then, and you go down, the percentage of revenue spent will be less.
Yeah.
You see, when you have people who understand the economy and how to run the economy, and you have a team, look at the skills of this present cabinet.
Yeah.
Everybody with different skills,
Yeah.
It's a well-balanced team that could discuss things objectively.
Wait, it's a funny part, just for a laugh. But Grenadians understand this whole question of the 3 for 10 when the government explained it, because look, Carib made a ton of money when they 3 for 10.
Yes.
And everything like
and
that.
continue to make a lot of money.
That's all right.
Yes.
No, but I think we took the slogan from Carriacou.
Well, Mr. Minister, we're going to open the lines. We're going to continue.
I only have 5 more minutes. Remember, I have a meeting at 11:30. And we started at 10:15, and I promise you 1 hour. So we're going to 11:15. So if you open the line,
just to take 2 calls.
You and Devon will have to answer the question.
We just want to
promise to come back.
Okay, fine.
No, I promise to be back next week.
Yeah.
Next week.
All right.
Next week I'll be back.
Because there's so much to talk about, and you haven't even touched your constituency yet.
No, well, they budget. Next week when I come, I'll touch the constituency, because the constituency, next time I'm coming back at 2 hours.
Okay.
From 10 to 12.
To 12.
Yeah,
Perfect.
10 to 12.
Yeah.
All right.
So, no, but I'm not finished with what I came here today. So, if you feel obligated to open the line to take 2 calls, well,
2 calls.
You are in charge of the program. So
I just want to give, because there might be somebody out there who has a burning question.
Well, go ahead.
So guys, the lines are open. The minister is only able to take 2 calls.
2 calls.
All right. The numbers are 440-7377 for local calls and 3473293101 for calls overseas. But feel free to share your questions on the live video and also on WhatsApp at 440-7377 also.
And Minister, why are you waiting though? I'm just
No, wait, I continue to. Yeah, why is it? No, you could ask me.
Oh, well, you don't even have to wait because the first call is already
right there.
Right, okay.
So let's take that first caller. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Duncan. Good morning to Mr. Joseph, and good morning to Devon.
Good
Yes,
morning.
sir. Good
No,
morning to you.
Mr. Joseph, listen, I'm a guy with common sense. So I listen to all what you have said there. Now, I'm not interested in criticizing the opposition unnecessarily, but rather constructively. Now, I listen to you, so sometimes what you say the answer you will give will maybe in summarizing it, what you would have said earlier, and all that would have been in there, but I did not have the opportunity to listen. No, but can you give us a quick summary within the time that you have? I know you have to go. Where we were when getting into office in 2013, and where we are today, that can prove in no uncertain terms that cannot be disputed because the facts don't lie. And are you prepared to take on any economist in arguing that Grenada have made significant progress in contrast to where we were and where we are today, and you are prepared to defend our position in any forum presented to you, based on the argument put forward by the other side? And like I said, the bottom line is that based on where we were, based on where we are today, and you can take on any economist in any forum in defending the progress Grenada have made, because in terms of the category used by economists by the economists to use in terms of whether a country progress or not, are you prepared? I hope I'm making some sense. Are you prepared to take on any economist in saying that Grenada have progressed in contrast to where we were and where we are today, and the facts don't lie? I hope I make some sense in terms of the question I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much, caller. So let me see. Well, I have to go through it real quick. Yes, you're correct. No, as I said, the macroeconomic indicators are well-established principles all over the world. And that's why the World Bank, IMF, CDB, and all the financial institutions could say, yes, we have achieved our target. So when we came in 2013, I'll run through quickly. We made debt to GDP ratio 108%. It's now down to around 56%, 57%. So these are clear indicators that no economist could argue over, because it's verified and it's checked. When we came, unemployment was at 40%, it's down to about 16%. These are facts that you could check. When we came, you're spending 70% of all recurrent revenue to meet wages, salaries, pension, is down to under 50% now. So then we had a deficit of $18 million monthly to meet our expenditure. We have now a primary surplus. And I don't see anybody that could argue it because it's easily verifiable. So we have 5 set indicators that we had set a number, but just at least 5. Per capita GDP as the fifth one that has increased over the years since we came. So the management of the economy and the way we perform and the growth that we have achieved over the last 5 years cannot be disputed, because these are figures that are verifiable.
Right.
And these are figures that have been confirmed
Right.
by the World Bank and I say all the other financial institutions to show that Grenada is in fact on the right track, and the turnaround in the economy. I think this turnaround in 5 years is what is surprising a lot of people.
Yeah.
To turn around the economy. And when I travel, ministers and ask me how we achieve that. So I mentioned the fiscal responsibility law, which only Jamaica and Grenada have. Most of them tell me they're not putting that in law because it tied them too much. They say we will have it as a policy. But when you want to put in law that your primary expenditure must not exceed 2% more than the previous year, and your debt to GDP ratio, the debt to wages must not exceed 9%, the wages must GDP. They think that, what they're saying to me is that you're tying yourself in law.
Yeah.
But it's because of that fiscal discipline, we have been able to benefit so much from grants and concessionary loan because of this discipline we have reached. But caller, yes, you ask a good question, and that all the indicators, as I said, could be supported.
All right, we have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, good morning. Well, my question this morning, or my comment, is not with what being addressed this morning. I want to say welcome back, Devin.
Yes.
I didn't see you in a while.
Thanks.
Something I heard from the parliament with a minister from the Northeast, St. George's Northeast. And my concern is that if something is happening inside your house, would you discuss it with the family first before you open it out, expose it? So I look at what you're saying, we had some points or what have you, is arguable, debatable, but should he not take those points up with the house, the body, before you bring it out in the parliament to the open, to everybody? And the next question is that why he did it when the Prime Minister was out the country and not in Parliament. There's more I could say this morning, but let's keep going. And tell Sheldon I say hello.
All right, caller.
Right.
Thank you.
Hello.
Okay, Minister, because I know you're pressed for time.
Well,
so.
no, Minister Boyd and the Prime Minister addressed the concern that was raised by the representative of St. George's Northeast. He will consider it his right to raise whatever question he wants and in Parliament, and I think Minister Bowen and the Prime Minister did give the appropriate response. The caller may, of course, have a different view and think that should be done internally. But as I said, the MP who made the statement may think he has his right.
Within his right.
Within his right to do it. So, caller, we have different views, differences of opinion. And that's the kind of democracy we live in, where you could express your view.
Minister, quickly here before you leave, perhaps a minute or so, now that the budget has been rolled out, how does your ministry, right, is able to, let's say, advance or looking for the word. What role does your ministry play to ensure that budget is
right? So how the budget is, as you know, I mentioned the allocation based on various ministries. So every ministry have their role to play. The education have their role. Every ministry. Trade is clearly defined, and the priority for 2020, and to help this to achieve our objective, we have the National Export Strategy that have very clear roadmap, a plan. The major outcome of the National Export Strategy, as I mentioned, is to help increase exports. So that's the role our ministry is playing now. How could we help businesses to increase the export, and how we could help the population now reduce on the food inputs. Yes. So we have a key role to play as trade, as the Ministry of Trade, as we help drive the economy. And we are getting very good cooperation from the business sector. And as I said, the export strategy is a long-term plan, and we have started working with manufacturers to help them. So you will see an increase in we hope by the role our ministry play, that is trade, industry, cooperative vehicles, you will see an increase in the export figure. So the balance of trade will drop slightly, as I said, but we will still be a net importer. But that is the key role of the Ministry of Trade. Besides dealing with all these trade agreements, WTO, Carriacou, and the EPA agreements and so on, which we have to monitor and ensure that we comply with, we are really working to ensure that our businesses have the means, because government is there to facilitate business. Government don't export, we don't get into manufacturing, but we are there to facilitate the business. And I started visiting all the manufacturers in Grenada. But if completely St. George's, and we're supposed to move out to St. David's, St. Patrick's, and other thing. So I plan to start very early in the year outside of the parish of St. George to visit every manufacturer and listen to their concern, what it is that how could government help them, and let them know what the ministry is doing also to help them, what are the services that we're offering, so we get them all on board. And then we intend to have more buy local. Last year we had 2 buy local promotion. We think we need to have more, so that the local producer can display their products, so that people are aware of all this. Because we produce a lot of things that people don't know. So to give them the opportunity that is local, so that they can support the local manufacturers. So our ministry have an extremely key role to play in the implementation of the measures announced in this budget.
All right. Well, Minister, thank you so much for coming and spending the time with us. I know you're pressed for time and you have to leave, but next week I'm holding you to it.
10 to 12.
10 to 12.
That you
2
get
hours.
a date
12,
to
2
come
hours.
and spend some more time with us. So,
Yeah.
guys, we're going to take a short break while we see the minister out, and then we'll be back with some more discussion, Devon,
Yeah,
of course, on what
definitely.
the budget entails.
Yeah.
Pleasant morning, listeners. Welcome to our program brought to you by the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. In this morning's program, we will be speaking on the upcoming ban on the sale and offer for sale of single-use handle plastic bags with the head of the Environment Division, Mrs. Aria St. Louis, and Mr. Benedict Peters, who is attached to the Environment Department. A ban on the sale and offer for sale of single-use handle plastic bags comes into effect from the 1st of December 2019. This will begin phase 2 of 3 on the ban of single-use handle plastic bags in accordance to the Non-Biodegradable Waste Control Act of 2018. Early in the year saw the implementation of phase 1, which was a ban on the importation and manufacture of handle plastic bags. Mr. Benedict Peters, who is attached to the Environment Department, now gives us some feedback on phase 1 thus far.
We have to look at it from 2 different levels. We have the importers, retailers, and we have the consumers, customers. In relation to the retailers and the importers, they have gotten the message, right? They have actually supported the ban. We have still to work with the consumers to have to build their awareness with the ban. But in relation to the importers and retailers, they are on board. As a matter of fact, we have now meeting some situation that the supplies have been exhausted because they were not importing, expecting import. There's some shortfalls that has to be corrected, but they are fully on board.
With phase 1 completed, phase 2, a ban on the sale and offer for sale of single-use handle plastic bags, comes into effect from the 1st of December 2019. Head of the Environment Division, Mrs. Aria St. Louis, now shares on what is entailed in phase 2.
The second phase of the ban, which comes into effect the 1st of December, is where no suppliers can sell wholesale the plastic bags. So as of the 1st of December, suppliers on island cannot sell wholesale. All now, they're still selling wholesale. But come the 1st of December, they will no longer be allowed to sell wholesale the plastic bags with handles to the various different supermarkets and so forth. That gives the supermarkets still a little bit of extra time to get rid of what they have already purchased. The point was that instead of having a straight brick wall that says everybody has to stop now, no import, no suppliers can sell, and no retailers can have to give to their customers. What we have done is in a very slow and organized manner and bringing along all of the various different key players, put in a phased approach to the actual getting rid of this. Again, because we know that our landfills in Grenada are full. We are currently still trying to make space where it doesn't exist by compressing, compacting, seeing how we can move. So we need to think about ways that we can reduce what is going into the landfill. And this is an entry point to trying to address that. Certainly there are other things that need to be removed. But the point is, initially, what can happen first, we work with. And globally, there is a huge swell and momentum building to support the single-use handle bags, particularly because we know that these are turning up in the stomachs of many of the marine species. And these species are important to us. They're economically important because either we eat them or because as part of ecotourism, we benefit from having them as part of our ecosystems, not to mention the many goods and services that they provide. So the December 1st, 2019 phase in this 3-phase approach is only for the suppliers They are the ones who are being targeted now. We've said to them, you've had more than enough time to get rid of your stock. Those who had brought in handle bags, single-use plastic handle bags, no longer could bring them in. But whatever was on island still could move around. You understand? Now, in that chain, we have said for a second group, the suppliers, from the 1st of December, you no longer can sell these bags to your customers. Sell these bags bulk, wholesale, to your customers. This means that when you go to the supermarket, we hope you will come with your cloth bag or your alternative bag that you have purchased, your baskets like we used to do, or your paper bag, or your box, depending on how much you want to take away. But the point is that we hope that although there still will be plastic bags available, you'll be refusing those bags. We want the public now to get on board. This is about their health. This is about the health of their ecosystems and their environment around them, and what we will leave as a legacy for people in the future, for our children and our children's children in the future.
Listeners, this is all the time we have with you for this morning's program. In the next program, we will continue our discussion with the head of the Environment Division, Mrs. Aria St. Louis, and Mr. Benedict Peters, who is attached to the Environment Department. This has been our presentation for today. Do join us again next time for another program from the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority.
All right, and we are back. Devon, that was some interesting information coming from the minister. I mean, I hope that the people who are supposed to be listening, and I always say this, they listen, and they and that's why we encourage people to call and ask questions. Even if he's not here to answer your question right now, he does plan to come back, so your question can be there for when he comes back. But it's an interesting budget. I love how this budget is broken down and so comprehensive, and it includes all of the sectors, and it's so balanced. You know, I see so many sectors being affected by this budget in terms of how much they're able to do now, how much more they're able to push and put into the economy.
They have more room, more wiggle room.
Absolutely.
They can plan more, right? They can employ more, bring out more programs, so then much more persons in Grenada can be employed and so and be part of the entire thing.
Absolutely. I had just had to ask that question about small business development, because this is something that I believe that more Grenadians must put a lot of their efforts into, because it generally helps the economy in a great way.
A lot of ways.
It does. Yeah, and you have people out there who are waiting on the government to give them a job, when it's just really your responsibility, because government is making that enabling environment. It's been created, right? We can't say government has to create. Government has already created that enabling environment for us to have that growth and that development. It is now our responsibility to access it, and as the minister said, GIDC, they have done the market research, so they know, because this is something we've talked about before. Has the market research been done so that persons know what available sectors really need that attention, so that they can focus their business in that section, in that sector, to help build that sector.
Yeah, and it's so important that with business, small businesses and so. And we talk about handout. Government, only time I think it's a handout is when government put the enabling environment in place, and you sit there and still wait for them to come to your house and give it to you.
Yeah.
In my view, that is handout.
Mm-hmm.
But when they create the environment for you, and you do what needs for you, come up with the idea, right? And you help, you plan, and then and it will enable you to be self-employed, right? Independent, and create employment.
Of course.
To help with the employment situation in our
country. Of course. I absolutely agree. I mean, I think it's very important for us to continue to allow government to to create that environment, but for us to also take advantage.
We have to
take advantage. We're not taking advantage. Look at farming, for example. Look at farming. Who would have known? Or who takes the time to do the research? We hear a lot of people talking about there's not enough opportunities for farming. They need to grow the farming sector. But the agriculture sector, who would have known that there's such a large demand from local hotels for more Grenadians to be invested in farming so that they can buy local, so that they can, so that their customers can eat local.
And that in itself would help the whole question of cutting the importation of, in my view, unwanted foods into our country.
Of course.
We have to take advantage of this situation.
My favorite slogan is be the change that you want to see. Exactly. That is my most favorite. I use it in my personal life, but I think it applies in all sectors. Yeah. You have to be the change that you want to see. You want to see an increase in agriculture. The environment is there. The funding is there. Mm-hmm. It is now your responsibility. If you don't want to be directly associated with farming, find a few unemployed young men.
And that
put them to work your land,
that brings a question of the whole thing of cooperatives.
Yes.
We take this whole thing about cooperatives lightly. Government is putting out money for young persons, women, young persons, to get involved in cooperative. 5 or more persons, perhaps 4 or more persons. You come together with ideas. They fund it. You come up with a plan. Right? Mm-hmm. You do so much things when you have a group of persons working together. We need to emphasize, especially through the Ministry of Cooperative, need to emphasize the importance of getting more people involved.
Of course. And Davon, we have a caller on the line. Let's just take this call quickly. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Ms. Duncan.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Brother Devon.
Good morning to you, my friend.
How everything?
Not too bad.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Duncan, listen to the budget, as the government said, it has one kick, and that kick has to share equally among everyone.
Yeah.
I want to see this budget reach out to every class of people, every group of people in the country. Because when you look, I want to focus on the youth, because there is some young people that may be academically inclined. Mm-hmm. They might not be successful academically, but then in the leave school they feel that is the end of it. What is the government is making make the environment right? That yes, they might be academically successful, but when they leave school, there is job training. They could learn a skill and be a successful businessman. Right? I want to see this government reach out to and help every group of people in the island, because it has a lot of people again that they may be at age adult. They are not academically inclined. They could learn skills and be self-employed. So I want to see this government doing and listen to the budget, a budget that care, and a budget that demonstrates that love and care for everybody. Because one sector of people the government has to look at. They have to look at every Grenadian. The unemployed, the young people that work in, because even the young people that may be successful academically, so them they can get a job. But if they have a trade they could be self-employed.
Yeah.
So I want to say to the government for doing presenting a wonderful budget, a budget that could make each and every one of us feel proud. Even those that the haters are hardly hear it talking, because they know this budget is a budget that demonstrates that love and care. So to the government, well done, and to the Minister of Finance for presenting a wonderful budget that makes us feel happy. Ms. Duncan, Brother Devon, you all have a wonderful day. God bless you all.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
He made a sort of interesting point when he said that, the detractors have not much to say because, from since 5-7 years ago, every year when a budget is being presented by the finance minister and prime minister, it gets better.
Yes.
It has more benefits.
Yes.
Right? It takes care of Grenadians much more. So there's hardly anything that they can dispute with, and so because it's a budget that's take care of the people.
Yeah, I mean, I sat and I listened to a radio program the other day, and I was listening to a representative saying that, the government is squeezing the people, so that's why, the debt to GDP can go down so low. And sometimes I wonder, like, what do we... So we never give positive criticism. Mm-hmm. Never positive, because if we give the government positive criticism, it means that they're doing something right, and we don't want to show them in a good light.
They'll continue looking good.
But it's time that we stop that and we allow people an opportunity to grow, regardless of what political affiliation they have. We allow people an opportunity to grow. So because you don't support the political party, you have to admit that the administration, that the government is doing what is best for the country. Because when you look at the budget, right, and you look at all of the opportunities and all of the programs that the government has put in place for the vulnerable of our country, and I know a lot of people get upset when we talk about the vulnerable people because, they say we use them conveniently.
We mustn't talk about that. In other words, we must not talk about persons who need. And I mean, this is one of the biggest goals of this administration, is to ensure that the needs of the vulnerable are met, and not really to keep them vulnerable, but to help them to grow to a place where they can sustain themselves and sustain their families. So when you look at things like the Needy Assistance Program, which they've allocated $2.2 million to, or the Seed Program, which they've allocated $14.3 million to. When you look at things like the Uniform and Transportation Allowance. You know what is my favorite one? The eradication of the pit latrine.
Yes, and it's funny that they would have done that, and some people, which is ridiculous in my sense,
they're mad.
They went as far as to say, okay, well, y'all eradicate the latrines. Who gonna pay the water? Nawasa for these people? I mean, it's ridiculous. So you would prefer that these people stay in these unsanitary conditions than to give them a step up and allow them the responsibility to manage.
Exactly.
So we prefer to be in a state where cholera is rampant and all of these things than to help somebody with a $20 water bill or a $10 or a $13 water bill. I mean, we have to come out of that place where you oppose just for the sake of opposition and you just find the negativity in something that is so positive. So when we continue to look, we're looking at things as the university tuition. I want to spend some time on that, right? So the government has allocated $500,000, right? Budgeted for $500,000 in the year 2020 towards the tuition payment for students who want to go to university, whose parents are not in a position where they can, help them out. These things are wonderful initiatives because it then now puts that family in a better position, and I'd like to encourage, because it's something that I would do for my children as well. I would like to encourage that whenever a child is applying for, let's say, university or TAMCC, and a lot of parents are guilty of this, my child is going to be a doctor, my child is going to be a lawyer, my child is going to be, and then when time comes and they're done studying and they've graduated and all of that, they come back and say, well, the government gave my child a tuition to a scholarship to go and study to be a doctor, and my child can't get a job. And you see, the problem that we have is that we don't put structure in place when it comes to our children's education. And what I mean when I say that is that you send your child to study medicine, to be a general practitioner. Grenada is overburdened with general practitioners. We need specialists in certain areas. So you send your child to be to study medicine, but to specialize in a certain field. Nobody says your child can't be a doctor, but a doctor of what? You understand? So and doing the same market research that GIDC is doing, you can encourage your child to follow a career along the lines of the needs of the country. You understand? So you don't send your child to do something that the country doesn't really need, and when you come back, you're putting blame on the government that there are not jobs available. You have to tailor it in such a way that you create that job, or you fill that sector that needs, that needs fixing. And this is something that I believe strongly in, So we have so many things. We have the house repair program, which the government has now increased the allocation to $15 million because they have seen the need for better housing for our people. We have things like more affordable housing when we look at the housing projects.
Housing projects in the different parishes, St. Mark's. We have Boucherjou, you have St. David's, you have Carriacou, and you have St. Patrick's.
Yeah.
I mean, not at any one point in time in our country, you would have never thought you would have seen housing projects going on right around the country.
Yeah.
And also coupled it, you have the government putting out an additional $15 million to assist persons to repair and to put an addition to the house.
Yeah.
I mean, that is commendable. It only takes politicians and leaders who have vision, who like their people, who want to see their people come out of the situation they're in and make them better.
Yeah, and we have things like farm labor. No. This is something that I think a lot of the farmers should be interested in because, and not only the farmers. Let's say I'm a owner of a piece of land that is just sitting there. There are a lot of monies available for agriculture. Let me hire a few boys on the side of the road, engage a few, engage a few hotels, see what their needs are, and try to work along. You see, we have to start thinking outside of the box and start creating an environment where we can sustain ourselves. And everything is about, the government didn't do this and the government didn't do that. But what did we do as a people to help?
I remember we had a government, I mean, the elected persons and the cabinet and the parliament are only there. We put them there to help guide. Yeah. But we, the people at the government, the ideas, what is needed within the country must come from us.
Absolutely.
I mean, you will not allow politicians to sit up there and say, okay, we're going to do this, when we, the people, know it's not needed.
Yeah.
They take their gauge. The politicians take their gauge from what the people need.
Absolutely. And Devon, we have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning to you once again.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good.
And good morning to the chief.
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Welcome back.
Thank you.
I tell you, sir, I'm listening to you guys. Since Mr. Joseph, I know Mr. Joseph had to run and he couldn't take any call. And I wanted to ask him a question. But I tell you, you're saying all the things that is right. You see, whatever you do, as you plan the development, it has to do with the expansion of the economy. You see, more and more students are getting into secondary school, and more students are what you call career-oriented. So everybody's going for the career that will serve the country and make money. So you go into the medical, you go to the legal, you go to the what you call the accounting, the business. And so those things are a must. You can't slow down students from trying to attain those things. What is happening here is that the economy is not expanding sufficiently at the private sector. Because government, I don't think, should be employing so much people.
Exactly.
But the private sector is not expanding because they don't see themselves having a role to play as it relates to employing people.
Very important.
Business is just not setting up to make money, It has another component. It has the survival of people.
Yeah.
So when you set up a business, you must make money as long as you have people to buy.
Yes.
So you now have to focus on people's well-being, people's development.
Yeah.
So you plan your business around the development of people.
Yes.
Because that is how you're going to survive. And if the economy is not expanding to cater for the interests of the young people whose ambitions are great, or wide, or big, then eventually you have a problem. So what's going to boil down into, well, I'm trained to be a doctor, I'm trained to be a nurse, I'm trained to be a lawyer, and look, I can't get a job because we overstock with lawyers and doctors right now. But do we have the population and we have the business to absorb? So, no, we don't have it, and that's where the problem is. So that's why I always say the government have to find a way to sit with three entities at the point in time. The trade union and the banks, to work out new credit arrangement, what we call overdraft arrangement with the banks, as to facilitate the private sector so they could get loans at a longer period of time to pay back. And as a result of that, that loans will be earmarked primarily for the expansion of your business, targeting jobs. So if we give you X concession, it is to create how much jobs. So you expand your business to employ another 20 persons and so forth. So all the agreement between the private sector and the business is to accommodate the expansion as well as creating job, raising revenue. That is not being done, and that is what is creating all the problem, because government may have as much program as they want, but if the business people are not responding by way of expanding to create jobs, then eventually come back to the same square one, which is we have sufficiently trained people, well-educated people, ready to work, but doesn't have the job, and there is no way. We're not exporting education because we have no arrangement with foreign countries to take our qualified people. So you have the stress is rising now in the qualified people, and then you hear the deviant behavior. So, but one thing I want to go raise before I go, because I know your time is of the essence. The minister is representing trade, and he's so right that his portfolio is to ensure that he expand and train and to deal with what you call the import and the export. We, as I said, convention, we have to be what you call a consumer country, right? We can't get away from that. We may try to export as much as we can, but we always remain a consumer country based on the size of the population and the population needs. What the minister has to do as you approach those things, to get the market is one, so you have to look at the market even before you start to plant, right? But you have to ensure that you could position the farmer to go to the field and to produce. And what there is? The roads. And you hear me talk about roads all the time, be it in the upper middle belt or the lower middle belt, the tourism sector. Roads is that component that will create all the expansion that you need as it relates to your planning. If you don't have the roads to go to the farm, and I have a lot of nutmeg farm in the mountain, and I'm not going there because the road is not the road was demolished in Ivan and they didn't pay it back. So you have to put the road there now in the upper middle belt. And the lower middle belt is the salted area, which would accommodate buildings and hotels, restaurants, etc. It might be private areas, but the government have a responsibility to create that environment where there is new areas for investment. So they have to survey now to find out where we can put a new road for the purpose of a hotel, for the purpose of a restaurant, or for the purpose of a hospital or whatever it is, even though it's a private entity. People might sell the land, yes. Nothing wrong with that, because when they sell the land, the money comes back into the economy. But you have to do that aggressive program if you want to deal with the no problem that you're trying to create jobs and to create revenue. You must do that. If you fail to do that, then everything is going to fall right down. That's the reason I always tell you, chaps, that I'm spending my money. It is with those things in mind, because I feel that I'm a government in myself, and I want to be a government in myself. I wish I had the money to do what the government can do. I'll do everything. But I am doing these things primarily for this purpose. That's why I set up a village. I open a road to set up a village, right? Private village. No government is benefit from that. I open roads to create farming. I have 2 full-time nephews in farming. They're doing a lot of farming. I now created 2 large-scale farmers as a result of these roads. So when I talk about the road, it's not road because I want road to drive on. I want roads to expand the economy, to create what the government is trying to do, to create revenue, because I am one person who believes that we should not be going to the IMF. We shouldn't be going to the World Bank, because we have the what you call the human resources here, and we have all the resources pertinent to raising revenue. All we have to do is utilize our human factors, utilize the material that we have here, make the money, and stop going to the IMF or the World Bank. We can run this country cash. I believe so, because we have all that it takes to run this country cash. And stop and begging for money, looking for money to do what we can raise here. All you have to do is to work on the economic development of the citizenry, to give them that opportunity to have and to spend back, and then our problem is solved. I'm asking you, chaps, for your help, because I'm sincere in that.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank you very
caller.
much, my boss.
You know, the caller has a point in a way. Maybe it is possible. It might be possible. And I'm no economist, so I can't say for sure that we can get to a place where we borrow less I can't say that we would not need to borrow at all, because there is probably going to come a time where there may be some major project or something that happens, and we need to borrow. So there may come a time where we need to. I'm not saying that we would never need to borrow, but there may come a time where the country can sustain itself, where we generate enough revenue that we don't need to borrow as much. But as he said, we need to develop the human factor. We can want to develop the human factor, but the human factor must want to be developed.
Exactly.
And that is the most important point.
You could bring the horse, but the horse may not want to drink.
It may not want to drink. Yes. The human factor must want to be developed. And that is the problem that we are having in Grenada.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that there aren't enough avenues to develop the human factor. It is just that the human factor is not taking advantage of the avenues that are available for their development. And that's the problem.
And a very interesting thing that you just raised, because, for example, let us take the Imani program and some of the other programs that is propelled by the Ministry of Youth. Now, there are things there for a number of young people to get involved and to uplift themselves academically, the skills and so. But yet you find a lot of them are refusing to go because they figure the money, like it had a stigma.
The stigma.
To it. But you as a young person must understand that something is being created for you, a platform is being created for you, right, to help educate yourself. Right, and not just wait on only your parents and so, but give you that independence. I mean, and we need the Imani program is such a good program, and so that will help our young people. Put them. I mean, I growing up in the 70s and even the 80s, young people never had that opportunity to go forward.
Yeah, we have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning to everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
And how are you today?
Good.
Before I go on further, I would like to seek information regarding the video that is circulating. Would it be okay to talk about it? Or?
Well, at this time we're not speaking about it, so I don't think that this is the correct forum in which we bring it up.
Okay, that's right. There's a reason why I seek information, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. So the human factor, Devon, it has to want to be developed.
Yes.
We have to encourage our young people to take advantage, because we have the Imani program. There are other programs that are available. Empower.
Youth in agriculture. I mean, that has been propelled by the Ministry of Agriculture. An exciting program. I can't wait to see a lot of. And people continue saying that young people don't like agriculture, but no, I don't believe that. You have to listen to them, and you have to get them to be part of something that they want to be part of.
You have to show them the importance of it. You have to show them,
technology,
absolutely.
And so that is what they're interested in.
Absolutely.
So you tailor the whole agricultural development around the technological side, and you get them involved in it. Yes, the only person who will have to do the hard laboring, right? The whole question again that has been pushed by the Ministry of Youth is the youth development when it comes to heavy machinery skilled.
Yes.
And so the excavators and all these things that will give our young men, especially our young men, that independence to be able to drive a bobcat and to work for more money, make them more employable.
And that's what some of the TVET programs, the vocational programs set to do, to make the individual more employable, because you want to be able to be skilled in certain areas so that you can meet the demand. You can meet the demand when it becomes available. So we want to encourage. So it's not about the government developing the people. It's about the people wanting to be developed. Because there are so many programs available to develop the vulnerable in the country. And he's right. You develop the people so that the people can help develop the economy. It's a cycle, really, You want to develop because you have people at a certain level, right? And they are able to contribute to the economy and so on. But then you also have people who aren't able to contribute as much, right? Once you can develop these people and get them up to a higher level, it means that they are now able to contribute more to the economy. And then you have the people who aren't contributing, and you want them as well to be able to contribute. So that's how you help grow the economy, help grow different sectors, so that contributes to the growth of the economy. But the people have to want it,
they have to want
because
it.
the opportunities are there, they're available.
And the people must understand, government is allocating money to develop, but it's our money.
It's our money.
They are only there to administrate, and they are doing the right things that we want them to do.
Yeah.
Create that environment for our young people, our farmers, our fisher folks, and so, right? Give them that opportunity to improve themselves.
Yeah.
That is why most of us pay tax.
Yeah.
So that the government can create avenues to develop. And so we mustn't just think of government providing this or providing that and so, but government is administrating the funds that is ours.
That is
He's
ours.
like a manager, a bank manager.
Of course.
The money is not his. He's just the person managing it.
Yeah.
We must tell them what we want, and they will allocate.
Right. And not only that, when they allocate the funds, we must utilize what they allocate, because you have so many programs. The New Imani program. Let's take that for an example. A lot of people believe that the New Imani program is about putting youth in an environment where they can succeed, put them in a job or whatever. But the Imani program, believe it or not, has so many different aspects to it, because you have persons going off on scholarships, you have persons receiving skill training, you have persons being placed in a job, you have persons receiving further education, personal development, all of that as a result of the Imani program. So it's not just people saying, oh, it's a waste of time, and so maybe it can be better managed. That we can agree on. But the fact that it is not a useful program, I would debate that.
Debate, there is nothing to debate there. The young people, you cannot at this time tell the young people that there's nothing for them.
Of course not. We have the Imani program. We have the Empower program, right? What government has allocated $4 million in 2020 towards that. We have Youth in Agriculture, where you have $300,000 being allocated to that for young people to go ahead and do things like pig farms and poultry and crop production.
Get involved in fisheries and
but you have to encourage them. It must be a community effort. I mean, it saddens my heart to go around some communities and see some of our young men and young women too,
Men and women.
Yeah, just sitting idly by and just waiting for something to come their way. Where is that community spirit where we encourage, where we bring to them the opportunities that are available?
That is why the whole question of cooperatives is so important.
Yeah.
Because, okay, for example, you may find a group of persons within a community unemployed. You may not want to go and look for a job. You may feel comfortable staying home and doing like a hustle, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But if you all come together, 4, 5, 6 persons come together, come up with an idea. There is funds allocated by government to facilitate that.
But you're talking about funds allocated by government. Let's move away from government for a moment and talk about funds that are provided by NGOs, where you can take your little hustle and turn it into a business.
Exactly.
A full-time business where you can become your own boss, where you can form a cooperative, you and 5 other persons within your within your community, and create that atmosphere for yourself. Even if you don't want to take advantage of what the government has available, and I think a lot more information needs to be put out there in terms of NGO funding and what is available from non-governmental organizations.
And especially from let's say from within the villages.
Yes.
Develop these organizations from within the villages.
Within the villages.
So the wealth and everything and so spread from the bottom come up.
Yeah.
Because they always say, oh, things are from the top come. No. If you start that foundation from below, strengthen it, it could only grow,
Absolutely.
As they always say, the price of land never goes down, It only goes up.
It only goes up.
So we have to continue to encourage, especially our young men and women, to take up opportunities that the government is providing. It's our money. It's money that has been put there, has been worked hard by your parents. We pay taxes and everything. Let us utilize it in the best way possible. Get involved.
Yeah,
you know?
and I realized that recently we use a lot of comments and things regarding money to try and get Grenadians amped. And I don't want to say we because I'm not a part of that. This administration as well is not a part of that. But there are a few loud voices out there who use the emotion that comes with money, because it's a large emotion that comes with money, and they use that to try and drive Grenadians to believe that the government is mismanaging their money.
Exactly.
But it's shown in the budget that government has a plan. They have had a plan. And that is why we can now say that our debt to GDP ratio is 55.8%.
And going down.
That is why we can now say our unemployment is not 40% anymore.
No,
it's
but under 20%.
You know, and these things. And that is why we can now say that more money can be allocated to these programs to help our vulnerable. More monies can be allocated to education, to agriculture, to taking care of our elderly.
Skill development.
To our pensioners. You know? So when you look at this budget and you look at it holistically and objectively, then you can see for yourself that this is an administration that has the people's interest at heart. And we have a call on the line. We're going to take that last call for the morning. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Miss Duncan.
Good morning.
How are you? And good morning to Devon, and welcome back again.
Good morning, Miss Matt.
I just wanted to say thank you all for a wonderful, wonderful program. You too is well expressing yourself concerning the government and the insight, giving me a better look at the insight of the government, of the spending power. Yeah. I thank you very, very, very much. I wish I was much younger. I would have taken you up on that. But I congratulate you too. Well done. A wonderful program. Very, very informative.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a wonderful day.
You too, caller.
Okay, Miss Matt.
Okay, bye-bye.
And Devon, I'd love for us to spend some more time talking about because this budget is so packed with so much good information. But of course, we are out of time. I'm sorry.
But we will have more opportunities and so together with some of the other line ministers to, emphasize and to elaborate more on the benefits. That is there within that budget for every single Grenadian.
Every single Grenadian. It's really a comprehensive budget, and I love it. And the opposition has, let me not say opposition. There's no opposition. So the other political party in having nothing to refute in this budget, because it's such a good budget, so solid, would want Grenadians to believe that now the government is squeezing them and that's why our debt to GDP is so low. But I see that as nonsense, and we must stop them from doing that to us. Our debt to GDP is low is because the government has well managed our economy, and has put measures, Fiscal Responsibility Act, that law, put all of that in place so they are held accountable for our money.
You remember before, we used to be paying 70 cents on every dollar in expenses, salaries and whatever. Now we're paying under 50 cents.
Under 50 cents. Remarkable. But guys, we are out of time. It's always a pleasure being here with you in whatever you say and whatever you do. Be safe, be secure. Yep. We want to be talking with you.
And not about you.
Not about you. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys.
All right.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated. The new National Party, NNP St. Andrews Southwest Youth Arm, presents its annual themed cocktail and gala. It's 90s style. That's right, we're going back in time. Saturday, November 30th, 2019. Going down at the Twilight Nightclub, Grenville. Cocktail starts from 7 p.m. until you say when. Watch it. You can dig up. Tickets cost only $15. Finger foods included. With music by Grenada's top DJs. Alongside live performances. Lots of dope prizes for the best dressed male, best dressed female, best dressed couple, and many more. The NNP St. Andrews Southwest Youth Arm, 90s style.
National Water and Sewerage Authority NWASA to apply new water rates in the coming year. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Tuesday, November 26th, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. The National Water and Sewerage Authority NWASA will be implementing new but competitive water rates from January 2020 as part of tariff reform. The company, which employs about 200 people, undertook a tariff review in September last year as part of its strategic plan, and after a competitive tendering process, US-based firm HARDTALK Consulting put forward a number of recommendations in a report completed at the end of last month after being chosen by NWASA in April. HARDTALK, whose website, raftalis.com, states that it has a unique focus on the utility and public sector, reviewed NWASA's current tariff and evaluated alternative tariffs. It says if rates are not adjusted, NWASA will run a deficit next year. It will not meet its debt service coverage requirements of its lenders and will have no cash in its fund balance by the year 2022. In essence, it says the current rates are insufficient. During a press conference immediately following Tuesday's post-cabinet press briefing, NWASA's General Manager, Mr. Christopher Husbands, said by implementing the tariff increase, the company hopes to have a better control over its capital investment schedule so that it can access concessionary sources of financing. This, in turn, will give it greater ability to control its implementation schedule. He explained the new rate structure.
Under the current side, this is what our water rate is now. So on the domestic side, we have what you call an increasing block rate. We have the first 2,800 gallons, you pay $8.10 for the 2,800 gallons. That moves up to $9.48. The next category moves from $13.50 to $15.80. And the large volume category on the domestic moves from $20.25 to $23.70. This is per 1,000 gallons. Your fixed monthly charge moves from $10.80 to $12.64. So it's not even $2. On the non-domestic side, the variable component moves from $21.35 per 1,000 gallons to $29.35 per 1,000 gallons. And the non-domestic, their fixed monthly charge is fixed on an annual basis, and it's based on your previous year's consumption. So the persons who now have a fixed monthly charge of $15, if all things stay the same, their fixed monthly charge will go up by $5. Those with a $33.75 category will go up to $46.35. So that is a new rate structure.
The benefits of the new rate include significantly more investment in the water sector. Mr. Husband spoke of the impact this will have on customers.
Persons in the domestic category who are within the 700,000 gallons per month, this may be a one person in a house kind of setup, they would have a current monthly bill of $16.47. Their monthly bill will go up to $19.28, so an increase of $2.81. And that is a component of the fixed and the variable. The average person, small household that's in the 2,400 gallon per month category that has a current monthly bill of $30.24, their monthly bill will go up to $35.39, so an increase of $5. And persons in the higher domestic category, someone paying $60 a month now for water will go up to pay $70, so an increase of $10 for the month. On the non-domestic side, again, the smaller non-domestic user, this may be someone with a small shop that doesn't have a lot of consumption, but is conducting business activity. Their current monthly bill will be $23.54 now. That will go up by $8. The larger users will go up by $21 and $83 respectively. This gives some more details on, this is the domestic side, right? So just put this up so persons can have some more. So if your monthly bill is now $40, it will go up by $40, it will go up by about $6, $7. If your monthly bill now is $20, it'll go up by about $3. If your monthly bill is $70 now, it will go up by about $11.
NWASA was created in 1992 without any adjustment to the water rates at that time. One rate increase was held in 2010. Since the last tariff, the company has spent $37.8 million over the last 10 years using internally generated funds to improve its network. Under its 10-year capital plan, NWASA needs financing for a number of projects, including investments in IT at $45 million, pipeline upgrade $85 million, and production facilities $25 million. Mr. Husband says they need to finance $178 million in capital investments. Despite the planned increase, Grenada still boasts of one of the lowest rates, making it competitive and affordable regionally.
Water is still very cheap. I said earlier the domestic water, the first block in the domestic category will now be $9.48 for 1,000 gallons. That is less than 1 cent a gallon. So every single domestic user for your first 2,800 gallons of water, you are paying less than 1 cent. So even if we round it off as, you can't even pay us 1 cent now because ECCB don't have that ticket. Right? On the non-domestic side, the non-domestic has a fixed variable rate, which is $29.35 per 1,000 gallons, which is basically 3 cents for a gallon of water.
Cabinet has set up a committee to meet with the College Council at the T. Marisho Community College in a bid to resolve the ongoing dispute surrounding non-payment of increments amounting to $6.2 million. The council, meanwhile, must submit a proposal to Cabinet as soon as possible on how it plans to address the outstanding payment, and that proposal must be ready for next week's Cabinet meeting.
I will tell you what the Cabinet decided yesterday. They submit a committee set up to meet with the council, and they must come up with proposal for the next cabinet meeting. So the work must be completed this week with how they're going to address the payment, because the issue is the outstanding payment. So this week, the committee will meet with the council, and they must submit a recommendation. That means this recommendation will have to be in before Friday to reach the cabinet on Monday, and then cabinet will take the decision on the way forward.
And any information as to the committee, the comprise?
Well, it will comprise of the minister responsible for tertiary education and representative from the council, usually the chairman, the principal, the buzzer. These will be the main people. And they must come up with a proposal to submit to the union in the hope that we can reach a settlement in the matter.
That's Minister for Trade, Industry, Cooperatives and CARICOM Affairs, the Honorable Oliver Joseph. The minister responsible for tertiary education will be a member of the committee. The college has 2 sets of workers, those seconded from government and are paid by government, and additional staff employed by the college. The council has been hiring staff over the years and is supposed to report to the Minister for Education on its financial position. Government gives a total subvention of $17 million to the college, $14 million for payment of staff, and $3 million for utility bills. During a recent parish meeting held by the government at the St. Patrick Anglican School, Public Relations Officer of the Lecturers Association at TAMCC, Victor Phillip, spoke out about the issue, asking for the government to step in and assist.
So what I'm saying is that whatever needs to be done, whether with the public sector or whatever, if you have people who cannot manage, there is common sense. You need to get better managers. TAMCC has, I would say, the resources required to take TAMCC or take Grenada education into a quantum leap. But we are failing with management, with having vision, and being able to manage TAMCC as an educational place and as well as a business.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
The Grenada Trade Center, in collaboration with the Ministry of Public Utilities, NTRC, and the PURC, presents a mega trade show and educational drive from Friday, November 29th to Sunday, December 1st at the Grenada Trade Center. Bring out the entire family to be informed and educated on financial, ICT, and insurance matters. Also on display will be LED energy-saving products, jewelry, art and craft, and so much more. You can also enjoy fireworks and sweet steel pan music. Mark the date, Grenada, November 29th to December 21st, Grenada Trade Center, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's a family affair. Our partners, GUT Credit Union, Antillean Insurance, Flow, Blue Bubbles PA and Rental Services, Nexio, and GIC.
Continuing the news, Cabinet has approved that the lease of 3,179 square feet of land in Carriacou, St. Andrew, to the Grenada Cocoa Association to construct a receiving station. The land will be leased for 33 years. That announcement by Minister for Trade, Industry, Cooperatives and CARICOM Affairs, the Honourable Oliver Joseph, during Tuesday's post-Cabinet press briefing. He says this will help to improve the operations of the Grenada Cocoa Association.
Right now, they are renting facilities in order to buy cocoa when you have to go and sell cocoa in that area. The Cocoa Association do not have their own building. And so Cabinet gave approval to lease this parcel of land to the Cocoa Association so that they can construct a receiving station. That will bring a lot of relief to the farmers because we have had a lot of complaints from farmers of how far they have to travel and how inadequate the current arrangement is, and therefore this will help address the concerns of both the farmers and the Cocoa Association themselves, who want to build the receiving station but do not have lands. And therefore with the allocation of the lands, that should alleviate the problem of buying of cocoa in that area in St. Andrews.
And finally, Pure Grenada, the spice of the Caribbean, has been named one to watch in the ABTA Travel Trends Report 2020, the only Caribbean destination to be included in the UK benchmark report since 2018. Independently selected by the ABTA experts, inclusion is based on a range of factors such as accessibility, major events and celebrations, and areas that are experiencing a revival. The ABTA, Association of British Travel Agents, has been a trusted travel brand for over 65 years and helps UK holidaymakers travel with confidence. Revealing the report to travel industry and media leaders, Victoria Bacon, the association's Director of Brand and Business Development, confirmed Grenada was selected for a number of reasons. She says the beautiful Caribbean island is a feast for all the senses. Grenada is incredibly fertile, and its green hills are full of fruit, nut, and spice-bearing trees. Chocolate also grows happily on the island, and chocoholics can visit the Diamond Chocolate Factory, watching the magical process of cocoa growing from tree to bar. The report also added that the capital, St. George's, is a very attractive place, with lively bars and restaurants, and Grenada has some very beautiful beaches which are less crowded than many other Caribbean islands, including Grand Anse and Rivera beaches. The other destinations included are Chicago and Lake Michigan, Georgia, Madrid and its neighboring cities, as well as Morocco, Namibia, Singapore, and South Korea, to name a few. And that's the National Reports. I'm Leslie Ann Johnson.
Now this is the big one as Culture Train String Band Group presents The Parang Train 2.0 from Friday, November 1st to Saturday, December 21st. And we kick things off on the Sister Isle. Friday, November 1st, the Brunswick Cemetery. November 9th, Bristol Shop in Leicester. November 15th, Modest Shop in Mount Royal. November 16th, Wayne's Bar, Hillsborough. November 22nd, Brongo Shop, Harvey Vale. November 23rd, Goosey Shop, Wynwood. November 27th, Sky Shop in Brunswick. November 29th, we head to Union Island to Hugh Malzat Square, Clifton. November 30th, we inside P.T. Martinick at Jakes Cross. December 4th, Pro Shop, Belvedere. On December 6th, we head to the mainland Grenada at Travelers Bar, Grand Mall. And on December 8th, Gold's Bar, Under the Bamboo, Pedmota. December 11th, Marvin Shop in 6 Roads. And on Saturday, December 21st, it's the grand finale round the island. And all events start from 7 p.m. Parang Train 2.0, brought to you by Grenada Tourism Authority, Government of Grenada, Grenada Distillers Limited, Digicel, WeiVybz FM, Sister Isle Radio, Amazing Colors, Ariza Credit Union, and Booms Construction.
The Parang Train, and they'll be coming in by you.
The government of Grenada is making good on its commitment to reconstruct the Simon Cultural Centre in St. Andrew. With Phase 1 complete that saw the demolition of the existing pavilion, work is now far advanced on Phase 2 of the project, which scope of works includes fencing of the perimeter at a contracted cost of $200,000. Our State of Affairs team accompanied Honourable Kate Lewis, Member of Parliament for the constituency of St. Andrew North East, on a tour of the project. The reconstruction of the facility, she says, is important not only for her constituents, but the entire country, as major cultural events were held at the venue prior to its destruction by the passage of Hurricane Ivan on September 7, 2004. Minister Lewis outlined the scope of works already undertaken and highlighted the fact that already a number of young men from the area have gained employment from Phase 1 and 2 of the project.
And what we are seeing here is actually the second phase of the Simon Cultural Centre project. Last year we did the first phase, which was the demolition of the old structure. So in the second phase, the fencing of the grounds for the cultural center. It is important that we fence before we start the construction because we need to protect the materials and everything else that will be there. So what you are seeing happening now is the preparation for the actual fencing. So you'll see some of the holes been dug and the poles been planted or so. But this is the second phase. So far, the contract has already been signed and the work is taking place. The contractor is on scene with some of the workers here. We expect to have, throughout the whole project, over 20-30 persons involved on a rotation basis employed in the fencing phase of this project. The estimated cost of this project is almost $200,000. We had budgeted over $300,000, but based on the work that has to be done, it's over $200,000.
Due to the number of years that the site has been left unattended, community members have used it for their personal interest. One such interest is that of a mechanic. While this is so, Minister Lewis says dialogue has already been had with the individual, who has since given the commitment to remove the derelict vehicles from the site well in advance of Phase 3 of the project.
Yes, because the area seemed to be abandoned for quite some time, we have a mechanic set up here where he usually would do his mechanic work. But what has happened, we have already spoken to him. He's cooperating very well and has planned and is prepared to move the vehicles as soon as we are ready.
The Simon Cultural Centre will be upgraded from what it was initially to a more modern facility with a number of added amenities.
The Simon Cultural Centre will mean a lot for us in the community of Paradise and Simon. We have seen, myself growing up in this community, the economic benefits that the Cultural Centre brought to the residents of this area, being able to generate an income with the amount of shows, the cultural activities that would normally take place here. So I know everybody is happy, even at the national level, because it signifies, the interest and the importance of culture to us as a people. And I'm happy that, we are well on the way to bring back our Simon Cultural Centre. We are going to be doing a modern structure, a climate-smart building, catering for the needs of everyone. Of course, we want to maintain the traditional aspect of it, where we had the pavilion setting. We're going to have that again. We will have downstairs a pavilion, office spaces where we can have skills training for our young people within the surrounding areas. Well, the intention of this project is to bring back the the Melody Papitet semi-finals back to Simon, where it really belongs. Everybody used to look forward to that Sunday, that Carnival Sunday, where you had the Melody Papitet semi-finals, and I myself looked forward to it then, and will be doing so now.
Phase 2 of the project has been contracted out to Kurt Rennie. He spoke to the scope of work already carried out and the importance of the project to the people of the community.
The project has started this week, making it 3 weeks, right? And so far we are in the phase of casting the poles. We already dig the hole, dig the trench, and right now we're in the casting phase of the poles.
How many men do you have with you to execute this job?
At present we'll be working on rotation, We'll try to do it in phase. So in this phase we have at least 8 men. And the next phase after, which is pulling up the fence, we'll hire a different set. So in all, it might come up to about 40 workers. The perimeter is 1,700 feet, which will be included barbed wire, the casting, the footing, and fencing. So that's basically it.
Are you the ones who be erecting the gates at the front as well?
Basically, the project manager, he determine where the gates go and we establish it.
I'm also seeing some excavation on the sides for the roadway and so.
Basically, the roadway is to access to the people in the village in the back. So they give them one entrance on this end and then the next one on the end, which is accessible for them.
To ensure that residents are not affected in any way by the ongoing construction, 2 access roads have been opened.
Usually the residents would pass through the Simon Cultural Center area to get to their homes. But we did not want to disadvantage, and as a result of that, two new roads have been worked on presently, as you can see, so that they can gain access, one at the front and one at the back. So they have 2 roads in which they can use to access their homes. The residents are extremely happy because they know what the Simon Cultural Center could do for them in terms of, the economic benefits they will receive. They are actually excited and cannot wait for the project to really come on stream and be completed.
One resident spoke of the importance of the project.
I feel good about that. It's good to have the community center in Simon. To build the place, Simon need to develop. You need to have more activities going on in Grenada and more.
The draft plan of what the Simon Cultural Center and its environment will look like on completion will be unveiled to the community ahead of commencement of work on Phase 3 of the project. And that's the state of affairs. I am Sherry Noel.